Hey guys, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys one of the best builds for Hunters this season. As you can see by polling, Hunters actually won by a single vote. And like I said in the last video, despite Titans getting a majority of the votes for this channel, they've been having a bit of a run for the channel for some time now, and I definitely want to show off a build like this. But don't worry, due to the overwhelming demand, another Titan build is coming soon. Before we get into the Hunter build today though, be sure to subscribe for more Destiny 2 content like this. Thank you in advance. Also, let me know what you think of the build in the comments, along with any suggestions for future videos. Getting right into the build guide for today, we're on the Revenant subclass on our Hunter, rocking both Touch of Winter and Grim Harvest as our aspects. Summed up, Grim Harvest allows for slowed and frozen combatants to generate stasis shards, and when we pick those shards up, we get melee energy back. For Touch of Winter, all of our grenades get a slight buff. For this build, we're specifically rocking Duskfield nades, which with Touch of Winter allows Duskfields to have an increased pulling effect and spawning a stasis crystal in the center on impact. We're also rocking Gambler's Dodge, which allows us to regen our melee ability upon casting our dodge. For our fragments, the first is Whisper of Hunger, which increases the melee energy gained from picking up stasis shards at the cost of 10 mobility and recovery. Second is Whisper of Bonds, which gives us super energy when we defeat frozen combatants at the cost of intellect and discipline. Third is Whisper of Fissures, which increases the size of stasis bursts when killing a frozen combatant or shattering a stasis crystal. And finally, we have Whisper of Conduction, which allows nearby stasis shards to track to us. For our exotic armor for this video, we're rocking Star Eater Scales. Summed up, picking up Orbs of Power grants us additional super energy, and when our super is cast, based on the number of orbs we pick up when we're full, we create a healing burst and our super deals more damage. At max stacks of Feast of Light, we even gain an overshield when we cast our super. Essentially, the more orbs we pick up, the deadlier and more supportive our super will be, and the faster we'll get it. Onto our mods for today. Starting off on our helmet is Well of Potency, which grants additional super energy on well pickup that matches our subclass type, which we'll be picking up a lot of, as you can see from the background gameplay. I'm also rocking Dual Hands On for additional super energy on melee kills. Onto our gauntlets, our first mod is Melee Wellmaker, allowing our melee ability to gen wells on kill. Now, given that we're going to be getting multi-kills with our melee ability frequently, it's worth noting that only one well will spawn even if multiple kills are given with a single melee charge. We also have Thermoclastic Blooming, which allows our stasis melee to gen orbs on kill. So while we might only be able to spawn one well with our melee, Thermoclastic Blooming allows our melee to gen one orb on every kill, even in a multi-kill. So if we throw our melee at a group and kills 3 or 4 adds, we'll get one well to spawn, but we'll have 3 or 4 orbs depending on the number of kills. And unlike Striking Light, which does stack with Thermoplastic Blooming by the way, we can actually pick up these Orbs of Power and gain additional benefits from Star Eater Scales. Finally, we're rocking Momentum Transfer, which grants us additional melee energy on grenade damage ticks, which when using Duskfield grenades is pretty easy to do. While it only works in the initial set of ticks per combatant, the pulling effect ensures we'll be affecting multiple enemies at once, so it nearly guarantees our entire melee charge back, simply from this perk. Onto our chest piece, we're keeping it pretty simple. We're rocking Elemental Armaments to buff Agers Sceptre, which is our exotic for today's video, along with 2 reserves to make sure we always have ammo for it. Onto our boots and our class exotic for today, we have Font of Wisdom, which is my pick your own mod for the build today. I personally chose Font of Wisdom to better complement our exotic weapon, Agers Sceptre, but I would also recommend Font of Might for higher weapon damage for our exotic, or Elemental Shards to allow stasis shards, which again we'll be having a lot of, to count as stasis wells for us. Font of Wisdom though grants us increased super regen for 30 seconds. I'll get into this decision when I actually talk about Agers Sceptre and its catalyst more in depth in a second, and explain why I think Font of Wisdom is the better choice for this. I'm also rocking Trace Rifle Scavenger, allowing us more ammo for Agers Sceptre, making sure since we're going to be burning through a lot of it, we always have reserves. Finally, onto our mark, we have Bountiful Wells, which essentially doubles our well production from any source, and Thermoclastic Strike for champions, which allows our stasis melee to stun overload champions. Finally, our last mod is Resonant Siphon, which gives us stasis ability energy when a champion is stunned, and since we're using Gambler's Dodge, this instantly gives us our melee upon cast, which we can then use to restun that champion and repeat this whole process over. Before we move on, I would like to point out that Bountiful Wells doesn't actually work with Elemental Shards. I've seen a few people online actually debate whether or not this works. So Bountiful Wells only works upon the event creation of a well, while Elemental Shards only works when you actually pick up a stasis shard. Since that shard is being generated outside of the well mechanic, it doesn't actually work with Bountiful Wells itself. Finally, onto our weapons. Our exotic for today is Agers Sceptre, For those that don't know, Agers is a trace rifle that generates slowing bursts on defeats and can freeze adds. With the catalyst, when super energy is full, we can hold the reload button, and at the cost of draining our super, the magazine doubles and our damage increases dramatically, and the freezing slowing effects of the weapon increase as well. I do want to point out that the super drain is constant, so if you activate this and at any moment you aren't shooting, you're wasting your super energy. And while you can cancel it early, you do have to wait until your super is 100% full before reactivating this ability again. Now moving on to as far as why I chose Font of Wisdom over Elemental Shards or Font of Might. I chose Font of Wisdom as the constant super gain for 30 seconds is greatly noticeable long term, and it does somewhat combat the super drain when active with Agers Sceptre Catalyst. Not enough to actually keep it from draining our super entirely, but it does extend it for a few seconds. Elemental Shards can also help with super regen when combined with a little potency, but given the cooldown and how easy our melee can gen orbs generally, as well as Font of Wisdom's, again, 30-second super regen increase, not really needed for this build when Font of Wisdom is always active, and we have plenty of other sources to actually get our energy from for super. And with Font of Might, I just don't feel it's necessary on this build, as I don't really struggle with killing adds even in higher end content. But if you find that's a huge boost to your gameplay upon testing this build, feel free to slot it in instead of Font of Wisdom. As far as other weapons go, it's up to you. I'm personally rocking my Adept Shadow Price with Swashbuckler to take advantage of all the different melee kills we're getting, as well as Reed's Regret, which can roll with Headstone for genning Stasis Crystals on precision kills. However, as long as you're rocking Agers Sceptre, you can really use whatever weapons you like to complement your build style. I will say though, if you do go the Font of Might route, I definitely recommend a Reed's Regret. Really any role will do, as getting that 25% weapon buff through Font of Might is greatly appreciated. One thing I do want to clear up in this build as well is the Agers Sceptre Super Drain when combined with Star Eater Scales. Feast of Light only procs when your super bar is full, and Feast of Light based on the stacks will increase the potency of your super, as well as giving other effects like a healing burst or an overshield at max stacks. Given that Agers Sceptre's Catalyst then drains your super energy upon activation, this will then take away your Feast of Light stacks, which then takes away the effects of all the Orbs of Power you then picked up. So with this build, the biggest thing is if you have your super and you just want to get rid of it, get rid of it. Don't worry about holding on to your super, as you're then limiting the effects of Agers Sceptre as a result, or simply the effects of casting your super. Given that Agers Sceptre then drains it, all your stacks of Feast of Light will then go away upon using Agers Sceptre's Catalyst effect, and at returning to full super, you won't get them back at all. So again, with this build, if you're gonna use your super and you have full super, just go ahead and use it. You'll get it back in no time at all. And if you know that you want to actually use Agers Sceptre's Catalyst effect, go ahead and just use that. Burn through those before you start picking up 6 or 7 motes to actually get Feast of Light procced fully. Overall, this build is really incredible. The near constant orb and well gen is beneficial for both you and your fire team, and with how many freezing abilities and effects we're throwing out, if your fire team is rocking Focusing Lens, they essentially have a near constant buff on every combatant, champion, and boss for their light-based abilities. Star Eater Scales allows us insane super regen and keeps this whole build going as well. All in all, this is a personal favorite of mine, and definitely the build for my hunter during Season 15 for quite some time. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching today. Let me know what you thought of the build in the comments down below, as well as any other build suggestions you'd like to see. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content like this, as well as future build guides. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.